Good afternoon. I'm Chris Cooney, and it's my pleasure to welcome you here to the Chamber's 106th annual meeting. First, let me thank you for making the extra effort to find and return to this space. We were here last year, although most of you have only recently learned of Teen Challenge when they hosted us last year. You might be surprised, or would you be surprised, to know that they've been on Main Street here in Brockton for 50 years. Kind of a quiet presence, but a consistent presence, doing fine work. Further, they have recently opened a new building on this campus in support of their mission, running the most successful recovery program in the state of Massachusetts. We are pleased to highlight Teen Challenge as they guide people back from addiction and into a more healthy and sustainable life. Please join me in a round of applause for all those at Teen Challenge that made today possible. We also want to thank Brewster Ambulance and the Brockton Area Transit Authority for providing parking and transportation today. Both Brewster Ambulance and BAT have consistently been recognized for their quality and efficiency in providing services to the region. We are delighted to have Mike Lambert, the new BAT administrator, with us. Mike, have a wave. As well as retiring BAT administrator Ray Ledoux, who's making the transition this month. And several of their team members here seated in the front. So thank you, Brockton Area Transit, for the wonderful bus. I also want to thank you for being here today as we celebrate another year of the Chamber and our members making an investment and a difference in the Metro South region. We are pleased to have so many people in attendance as we celebrate those who have invested significantly in this region this past year. In your program, you will see a summary of the 12 Economic Impact Award recipients. Their entrepreneurship and investment are truly extraordinary. In the words of an American entrepreneur and author who you might have heard from, or you might hear from soon, Bill Cummings, I quote, "The most successful entrepreneurs I have known almost always demonstrate great self-confidence, optimism, and often personal magnetism, as well as a willingness to work prodigious hours to make things happen to their satisfaction. The true entrepreneur will persevere with some things to the point of obsession." And can anybody relate to that? Jenny Mather, I see her crew. Entrepreneurs must focus not only on what is in front of them right now, but also on what their business might become. The present state of a building, product, or company is not nearly as important as its potential and seeing it. That's the end of the quote. Our award recipients all share this entrepreneurial gene or spirit, and we are delighted to celebrate their success here today. We are equally pleased to hear from Bill Cummings, our guest speaker, and share with you Bill's recent book, Starting Small and Making It Big. You've each received a copy, and he himself signed every single one of them. So thank you, Bill, for that extra effort. In Bill's own words, instead of being a guide for entrepreneurs on the wave of brilliant revolutionary technologies, this book pays more attention to some of the basic bedrock principles so necessary in any business: integrity, hard work, innovation, service, persistence, guts, and the other common sense elements of building and running businesses. In my own words, I thoroughly enjoyed this book. This book of Bill's life is about love. It's about love of life itself and love of the lives that you cross and people you meet along the way. It's a great journey, and if you're ever feeling a little bit down, read this book. There's great stories in there, and you also become a little educated in terms of business aspects. We will hear from Bill in a little while. He has agreed to answer some questions as time allows. I want to call your attention to the sheets on your half pieces of paper on your tables. If you have a question for Bill, please write it out. Just kind of wave it, and a volunteer or chamber staff will pick it up. We are at capacity, so I know there's some people still coming in. If you have an extra table, if someone couldn't make it and you have an extra seat, please wave your hand and invite the person over so that they can sit down quickly as the program goes on. It's a great chance to meet a new person, possibly a new client. Please rise as members of the United States Army Guard color post colors so we can then salute our nation's flag. Soldiers. And now to sing our national anthem and lead us all in singing God Bless America after, please join me in welcoming the Cardinal Spellman High School Cabaret a cappella group led by Allison Masson.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave, the brave, the brave.
And now we would like to welcome you all to please join in singing God Bless America with us. One, two.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
Thank you, Cardinal Spellman. Amazing. Very proud of you. Thank you, soldiers, for posting the colors. And at this time, please join me in a moment of silence as we honor our servicemen and women for their dedication and enduring service to our country. I also would like to add a moment of silence for those involved in Teen Challenge, this facility, and the love and support that they provide. Thank you very much. Please have a seat. We have a very full program, so please continue with your salads. I know last year even some people started on the dessert before the main course came. That's okay too. We fully expect that you will be enjoying yourself and your meal as we continue on with our program. I would now like to thank our largest sponsors for today. Sponsors make a huge difference and allow us to do what we do. Our premier sponsor is Crescent Credit Union. We have President and CEO Bob Gustafson, VP of Marketing Jonah Ween, and Commercial Services Manager Rich Hook, and the whole team from Crescent. Thank you. And to our major sponsor, UMass Donahue Institute, under the leadership of Eric Heller and John Murray, Director of CareerWorks. Thank you. And finally, to our expo sponsor this year, we have added the Bridgewater State University, and his president is here, Fred Clark, and his team from Bridgewater State University. We have a table right here. In addition, we have some elected and appointed officials with us here today. I just wanted to ask them to give a wave as I announce them. I know Claire Cronin is in session, so she was going to be here. We have the Brockton City Councilor Ann Beauregard. We have Margaret LaForest from the Massachusetts Office of Business Development, Susan Laurie from the U.S. Small Business Administration, Frank Lynham from the town of Whitman, Frank Haggerty from the town of Avon, Al DiGeronimo from Senator Murray Brady's office, and Moses Rodriguez, representative, is here as well. Okay, so in addition, it is my distinct honor to have with us the newly elected mayor of the city of Brockton, Bob Sullivan. Bob. I want to share with you a little bit about Bob's background and then ask him to say a few words before you today. Bob Sullivan was born and raised in the city of Brockton, where he attended public schools and graduated from Brockton High School in 1988. He earned his BA and his MBA at Boston College and went on for a JD at New England School of Law. As owner of a law practice, he has operated a business since the year 2002. Among his clients, he served the town of Randolph as their attorney of record for a number of years. He was elected to the Brockton City Council in 2006, has been elected by his peers to serve as a city council president 4 different terms during that 14 years. It's a position that he currently holds today. Please join me in a hearty welcome for our new mayor, Mayor Bob Sullivan.
Well, first of all, let's give one more round of applause for the boys and girls from Cardinal Spellman. Awesome. I want to thank Chris. I want to thank the chamber, the staff. It's a lot of hours that go into this. I want to thank each and every one of you for being here. I want to welcome you to the city of Brockton, the city of champions. It's also really wonderful to be here at Teen Challenge. As we know, Teen Challenge every day is helping battle the opiate addiction, the epidemic that's killing people, young and old, white and black. It doesn't matter. But Teen Challenge here in the city of Brockton is truly making a difference to combat that affliction. And we want to thank what they do, and we look forward to working with them. This is a wonderful venue, and I want to thank the Chamber for hosting it and having it here in the city of Brockton. As you know, recently the Massasoit Conference Center closed, and the Shaw Center isn't operational right now. But having it here today in this venue is what really Brockton is all about, coming together. And I said this many times on the campaign, and my friend and my colleague in the campaign, Jimmy Pereira, is here. Jimmy, thank you for being here. It really means something. And what I said, ladies and gentlemen, and Chris said it, I'm from Brockton, my wife's from Brockton. It's etched in our fabric. But right now, if Brockton was a stock, each and every one of you should be buying it. The number one asset are the people in Brockton. But right now, Brockton is poised. We're teed up for great investment. $150 million, 2019, teed up downtown. That's huge investment. We just had the groundbreaking of $29.7 million investment for the Ganley building. Good things are happening right now. 3 stops, 35 minutes to get to South Station. Brockton makes sense, and I want to thank you. If you live here, if you work here, if you don't work here, come to Brockton. We'll welcome you with open arms. I do want to say that my friend and the current mayor, Moses Rodriguez, will be joining us today. And Moses and I have served many years on the city council. and we have committed to make sure that the Shaw Center does open. We need to make sure that Brockton doesn't lose venues and that conference centers are going to be open for business. And let me just tell you, rest assured, when I get sworn in January 6th, Shaw Center will be opening real soon, so that's a good thing. I'm really delighted to officially welcome Bill Cummings to Brockton. Really, if you know Bill or if you've read about him or Googled him, he's a man of success in business, millions and millions of square feet commercial business, but he's also a true gentleman, philanthropy, giving back through his foundation of billions and billions of dollars. I went to BC, Double Eagle, and the Jesuits taught me you always give back. And when you look at Mr. Cummings, that's what he's doing. So thank you for what you do, Bill. One thing about Brockton, the Brockton High mascot is the boxer. And we're in the fight right now, and Brockton's winning the fight. And as I said it earlier, we're the city of champions. And you can talk about Armand Colombo, Rocky Marciano, Marvin Hagler, the great public school system that we have. Today, our new Brocktonian, Bill Cummings, is a true champion within the city of champions. And I want to thank you for being here. Thank you for what you're doing. It's benefiting the Commonwealth and the nation. And truly, truly, I look forward to reading your book. So I want to thank you. And we also want to, Bill, if you could come forward. We want to present you the key to the city of Brockton today. I'd like to read it if I could. Key to the city of Brockton, presented to Bill Cummings. Starting small, making it big, and giving until it feels good. That's a great quote. It really is. It's dated today, the 20th of November, 2019, and it's given today on behalf of Moses Rodriguez and myself, Robert Sullivan, Mayor-elect, City of Brockton. Thank you, Mr. Cummings. Thank you very much.
Give until it feels good. I love that quote. Much better than give until it hurts, right? Thank you, Mayor and Bill. We also want to thank so many of our past chairs of the board, chamber directors, and economic development partners who are in attendance this afternoon, including those who are from the Plymouth 400 Committee. Many of you might realize that, let's do the math, 1620, the Pilgrims landed at Plymouth Rock. That means in 2020, next year, it'll be 400 years. And I don't know about you, but this committee has been working for seemingly a decade to put together this celebration, and they have been doing a phenomenal job. I know Paula is here from the Plymouth County Development Council and the committee, but let's have a round of applause for their efforts. And you may have noticed that on your tables there is a hat that says Plymouth 400, and someone's going to win that at the end, along with a Prosecco, which is the Spanish version of champagne, right? So you'll be able to celebrate in style with your hat and your Prosecco. As Henry Ford once said, coming together is beginning, keeping together is progress, working together is success. The Chamber is fortunate to have the very positive and successful leadership of Fred Clark as our chairperson of the Chamber's Board of Directors. Please join me in welcoming Fred Clark, President of Bridgewater State University, as our MC.
Sold out. How's that? Sold out. Congratulate yourselves. Sold out. Isn't that wonderful? Bill Cummings, Mr. Mayor, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for being here. Chris, I'd like to thank you and our fellow chamber members for being here as well. We are the leading chamber of commerce in this region, and I would like to venture in this state as well. As a chamber, we connect, we support, we energize member businesses focused on improving the economic vitality and quality of life in the Metro South region. In the past year, We've hosted dozens of programs based on our 5 areas of focus: research, consultation, education, networking, and advocacy. Some of these programs combine more than one area of focus, like our 4th annual Multicultural Business Forum and our recently held South of Boston Real Estate Summit. All of the Chamber's many programs are designed to address areas of economic importance while strengthening businesses and advancing the Metro South of Boston region. Also this year, the Chamber has conducted 2 commission studies and embarked on 2 more. All 4 studies on topics or real estate of regional importance. 2 examples of these recent studies are the 60-acre fairground site study and the 30-acre CSX site as well. Both are located within 2 of the 8 newly designated opportunity zones in the city. The studies provide critically important data and information to guide both public policy and private land development at those sites. And also this year, the Chamber connected business owners to elected officials through our annual spring legislative lunch, our fall government affairs reception, and the televised mayoral forum featuring the 2 candidates for mayor who are with us today. At a state level, the Chamber was pleased to be selected for the 10th year by Governor Baker's Office of Business Development as one of 10 regional economic development partners, or REDOs. This designation provides recognition and resources to better position the Chamber as a convener, facilitator, and a leader in advancing interests important to businesses and communities throughout this region. Looking forward, the Chamber is well positioned to initiate and respond to issues of economic importance in the year ahead. We have a committed CEO in Chris Cooney, an energetic, incredibly energetic staff, and an experienced board of directors. And what's more, our auditors confirm, it's always good when auditors confirm, that the Chamber is on solid financial footing, finishing the fiscal year with a strong fund balance and diversified income streams. And once again, thank you for your support of our Chamber as engaged members. We could not achieve it alone. What we do by working together. I would like to also just take a minute to thank my colleagues and friends from Bridgewater State University that are right here. I did tell them that if they behave, I would introduce them as Bridgewater State. If they didn't behave, thank you for coming, UMass. Appreciate that. Now, one of our members, there's an empty seat there, because that empty seat should be filled by Mary Waldron. And I want to Mary is in Worcester. They don't let you out of Worcester. She's already made her 1 phone call once you go there. But I just wanted to thank her in absentia. She's actually at a Gateway City conference. And I wanted to thank Mary Waldron. She's been at Bridgewater for over 6 years. I had the pleasure of hiring her. We've worked together for decades. And I want to thank her in front of all of you for the work that she's done at Bridgewater State to deepen and broaden and intensify our connections here in the city of Brockton. There is no higher champion. There's no more of a passionate advocate or defender of the city of Brockton that I've met in all of my years than Mary Waldron. The other thing she did for Bridgewater, she's done for the region, is to help be a convener around the opiate addiction issue, the true state crisis that we talked about earlier. She's the heartbeat of what we've done at Bridgewater as a convener, working with all of our partners in the region. Please, in absentia, please just join me in thanking Mary Waldron for what she's done at Bridgewater. Now, Mary's moving on, and I have permission to say this. She's moving on to the Old Colony Planning Council, and I can't think of a better successor to Pat Chiaramella than Mary Waldron. So we all wish her well. So back to our business. At this time, I'm pleased to report the nominating committee findings for 2019. The slate was officially elected at the October Board of Directors meeting. I would like to ask those present to stand as I call your name. Please remain standing until all are introduced, and if you can, hold your applause until everyone is recognized. Nominated and elected to the class of 2020, Jerry Nadeau, Rockland Trust. Please stand, Jerry. David Texera, the mattress maker of New England. Nominated and elected to the class of 2021, Lisa Stratton, the Enterprise Wicked Local. Rick Fisher, Bridgewater Savings Bank. Mike Lambert, Brockton Area Transit Authority. Todd Copeland, Copeland Auto Group. Nominated and elected to the class of 2022, myself, tremendous choice, Bridgewater State University. Nelson Fernandez, JJ's Cafe. Dr. Gina Glickman, Massasoit Community College. Chuck Jones, Harbor Health Elder Service Plan. And Sue Joss, Brockton Neighborhood Health Center. I would also like to add and ask all additional Metro South board members in attendance to please rise. And as you do, let's join together and congratulate our Metro South board. And now our officers. The following will serve as officers. I would like to ask them to stand as I read their names and also remain standing until they're all introduced. And again, hold your applause if you can. Now, I clearly missed this meeting. Elected Chair, Fred Clark. President and CEO, Chris Cooney. Chair-elect, Joe Casey. Our Treasurer, Greg Hart, CPA. Chair of the Economic Development Group, Pat Chiramella. Chair of Membership Development, Fran Weiler. Chair of Community Affairs, Masa Kanbabe. Chair of Government Affairs, Richard Hines. Past Chairman, Jerry Nadeau. And please join me in a round of applause for our chamber leaders. Thank you. A special part of our annual meeting every year is the presentation of recognition awards. I would like to ask President Chris Cooney to join me in presenting these awards. Come on up, Chris. Our first presentation honors board members who are completing their maximum years of service on the board. Please join us on stage when your name is called. There are two of you, Jay Pike of Citron Cooperman CPAs and Peter Vlaco of Brophy and Phillips. Come on up. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you very much, Jay and Peter. Our next presentation honors those who have earned the 2019 Metro South Economic Impact Award. And today we honor 12 companies who've made a significant economic impact in the region, creating jobs and adding to the rich business culture by providing valuable products, resources, and services to help this region grow. Combined, these businesses and organizations have invested tens of millions of dollars and collectively have added hundreds and hundreds of jobs. We are truly grateful to have each of these employers in our community. The award recipients and their accomplishments, as Chris said earlier, are detailed in your program. I'd like to ask each recipient, as I call your name, to come forward to the stage and remain on the stage for a group photo. The Metro South Chamber of Commerce is pleased to present the Economic Impact Award to the first 6 recipients. Accepting on behalf of 100 Tech is Dan DeMarco. Come on up, Dan. Atlantic Shipping Company, John DePina. Come on up, John. Brack's Grill and Tap, Frank Brack. Brockton Plumbing and Heating Supply, Paul St. Pierre. Connemara Senior Living, Campello, John Burke. Copeland Volkswagen, Todd Copeland. Gentlemen, come on. Gina Glickman, it's a good thing they teach you how to take pictures in New President's School. It's come in handy up here. All right, our next 6 recipients for the Economic Impact Award, accepting on behalf of the Father Peyton Center, Reverend Willie Raymond, Reverend, Fronto King, Trevor Ivy, Harbor One, Brenda Kerr, McGuigan's Pub, Rich Rosen, Stone Ridge Mutual Properties, Darren DeCoste or Margaret LaForest. If both of you are here, both come up. Westgate Lanes Entertainment Complex, Mark Calandrello. Mark Calandrello, did I get it right? Okay, good. Come on up.
Yes, you did. You got it.
Good to see you. Our final recognition award is the Charles A. Fuller Memorial Chamber Award. The late Mr. Fuller had served as chair of our board of the chamber and was deeply and energetically dedicated to our organization and certainly to our community. This award recognizes an individual whose leadership, performance, personal example, and good influence has done the most to advance the welfare of Metro South Chamber of Commerce and our community. This year's recipient is Pat Chiaramella. Pat Chiaramella. Now, Pat, they wanted me to have you come up at the end of my comments, but why don't you come up now so we can embarrass you longer? Come on up, Pat. Where is he? There he is. Come on up, Pat. Congratulations, Pat. Pat's connection to Brockton goes back more than a century. More than a century. You look pretty good for more than a century. That is what it says. But actually, it goes back to his paternal grandfather, who immigrated to Brockton before eventually returning to Italy for a time. But a generation later, Pat arrived in Brockton at age 8 years old with his father and his family. He was an immigrant. He didn't know English, and he faced numerous obstacles, as you can imagine. Pat went on to graduate with honors from Brockton High School, and then received his college degree in political science from Northeastern University and a master's in urban studies from BU, before being hired as a planner at the Old Colony Planning Council, where he works today and has worked for more than 42 years. How's that? 42 years. His career began in 1977. I was 16, Pat, I'm just saying. His hard work earned him steadily increasing job responsibilities before he was named the executive director of the Regional Planning Agency in 2006. Pat, in a word, thought, action, he has provided positive influence on thousands of plans and developments throughout this region. He has helped shape our region. His leadership, performance, and helpful demeanor have assisted truly countless people in achieving their goals, fulfilling their potential all through the years. His connection with the Chamber Board of Directors includes 2 tours of service spanning more than 14 years. He served more than a decade on the Chamber's Executive Committee, chairing the very important Economic Development Division during this crucial time. He and his wife, Patty, have lived in the city of Brockton and have been married for over 35 years. They've raised their 4 children here. In the community, Pat has served on numerous committees and the boards of many community service organizations. He recently announced his retirement and will be transitioning in the months ahead. It doesn't say to what, it just says you're transitioning. We are truly appreciative of his thoughtful service to the Chamber of Commerce and to the greater community, and it is my pleasure to present the Charles A. Fuller Memorial Chamber Service Award to a true Chamber champion and community leader, Pat Chiaramella. Pat.
I just want to say thank you. Well, after 42 years, 2 months, 29 days, and 12 hours, I'm finally winding down. I am honored to be the recipient of this amazing award from the Metro South Chamber. I want to personally thank Chris Cooney and the Metro South Board of Directors for their friendship, support, and help over these past 15 years that I served on the board. I will certainly miss being among you. Would the Board of Directors please stand? Let's give them another round of applause. Please stand. Again, I want to thank everyone. Thank you.
Short and sweet. Very lovely. Thank you very much, Pat. Congratulations. It is now my pleasure to introduce our speaker, Bill Cummings, entrepreneur, author, and philanthropist. You know, when I came in, I asked a few people, have you ever met a billionaire? I never had met a billionaire. And the first 3 people that I asked all had met a billionaire. 2 Warren Buffett and 1 Bill Cummings. So we've all now met a billionaire. And what an example he is for all of us. Born during America's Great Depression, Bill Cummings grew up poor, but through a series of highly successful business ventures, became one of the wealthiest individuals in Massachusetts, and more importantly, one of the most prolific philanthropists in Massachusetts history. He's self-made, a modern example of the promise of the American dream. Bill founded suburban Boston commercial real estate firm Cummings Properties in 1970 and grew it from 1 small building to a portfolio of more than 10 million square feet. Along the way, he accumulated uncommon wealth, much of which he and his wife Joyce have begun to actively disperse through the Cummings Foundation. Bill and Joyce were the first Massachusetts couple to join the Giving Pledge, an international philanthropic organization founded by Bill and Melinda Gates and Warren Buffett. They have been honored to receive dozens of community accolades from organizations as varied as the American Red Cross, the Archdiocese of Boston, the Boston Business Journal, the NAIOP, the Association for Commercial Real Estate Development Industry, and others. They have both received several honorary degrees and doctorates and have 4 different times served as college commencement speakers. In 2018, Bill released his self-written memoir, Starting Small and Making It Big, an entrepreneur's journey to billion-dollar philanthropist, which includes thoughtful reflections on the lessons he learned about business, entrepreneurship, and philanthropy. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Bill Cummings.
Thank you so much, Chris. Thank you for this wonderful audience today. It's an impressive place to be and to be talking to so many people who are either business people or community leaders in many, many different ways, and to feel the energy that's running through this whole hall here today is very impressive, really. There's one thing that I can talk a little bit about on a timely basis, and Normally, I'll tell you a lot about my background of things that are already in the book. So you all have a book. So that'd be kind of duplicative today to tell you what you're going to read. You all know how to read, I'm sure, and I can't do much more to help that. But there's an event coming up that I guess it's 4 days after Black Friday, and then we have Cyber Monday, and right after that on Tuesday we've got Giving Tuesday, don't we? The big thing that I do today is not to operate Cummings Properties anymore, but much more so to work with Cummings Foundation. And we have an opportunity to do a lot of things, as two prior speakers have so pleasantly informed you. And I appreciate those kind words, Chris and Fred. I think the thing that is coming up, though, on Tuesday is a local thing. This idea of giving, this Giving Tuesday, is new. It's something that Cummings Properties has done for quite a few years. And we've done it in terms of giving through our colleagues. Cummings Properties has 375, 380 staff members. Most of them are, 3/4 anyway, are tradespeople, electricians, plumbers, and carpenters, and all the rest. And they're not in the habit and don't have the wherewithal to often go out and make 4-digit number. They're not going to give $1,000 or $2,000 to a charity. They just, who would? And most people have much more substantial means not doing it too much either. So we've determined 9 years ago, I guess it is now, that every employee in the company would be offered an opportunity to designate a charity. And then we changed it to every employee would get one, and the employees with more than 10 years seniority would get to designate 2 charities. And the total money involved isn't a whole lot. Cummings Foundation has given away $250 million so far, more or less, very close, a little bit more probably. The total amount that the company gives away this year was 553 people designated a charity. Although a total of 553 were designated, and each of these charities gets $1,000 from that employee. And it is so meaningful, and there's so many of you people here who are running good, solid, substantial businesses in the Brockton and metropolitan, southern metropolitan area that could do the same type of thing. And many of you are doing far more substantial things than that. But I, as the founder of Cummings Properties, and which I've been running, had been running a total of 50 years in one way or another. I've been succeeded several times since I got through running it exclusively by myself, really. But in all that time, and all the money that we give away in other ways, in much larger amounts, there's lots and lots of dollars that we distribute, most of it quite quietly. But the $1,000 that we'll distribute on Monday, that we distribute Friday, so that our colleagues can distribute it personally, deliver it to the designated charities, that will cause more publicity than, far larger grants ever do, because it's so meaningful to be able to go into any local charity. We use 120 or 118 or 120 people in the foundation who are volunteers. Cummings Foundation has got a total of 1 paid employee. We have the lowest administrative cost of any foundation that files a 990 form. There's nobody that has a lower cost than we do. And because we have so many good volunteers who come in and work. And these volunteers, they are retired post letter carriers, they're school teachers, some of them are our own former employees who have retired. We've had several college presidents who've served as volunteers, and in a whole bunch of different ways, probably 5 of them I can think of right off the bat, more than that actually. and professors, housekeepers, people who have been at home most of their lives, and parents that just want to do something out of the home. They don't have to have any credentials except a desire to serve the community and to read carefully and to evaluate carefully the applications that come in. So I'm mixing two stories now. I'm going off the Giving Tuesday into the other side of this thing, but for comparison purposes. But that's what we do with the foundation, and the volunteers do so much for us. This other side of things, though, to many of the employees, and I'll go back between colleagues and employees. I like colleagues more than I like employees as a designation. I think of them as friends and colleagues in most cases. So many of them will get together and make it a family decision. Who are we going to give it to? Well, we got $1,000 to give it away. We can't give it away in 10 small checks. We're going to give it all to one place. And it's going to a food pantry or after school daycare somewhere. Or the facilities like the several that are right here in this complex, and they go wherever they want to. And any of you that want to consider doing that, I promise you it's a great way to do it, and it is so rewarding to hear the stories that come back. I cite one of them in the book, and I do talk about that a little bit more there, but one of them came back and they decided they wanted to send it to the children's library. And the kids came up, at that time they were 6 and 8 years old, the two children who delivered the check to the library. And the librarian was expecting it was going to be a Valentine's Day card or something, or a Thanksgiving card. It would have been Thanksgiving, certainly. And, and just didn't know what to make of it. When out comes a check from the library, the children's library, for $1,000. That was up in some town, I guess it was Westford, actually. And there's all kinds of stories like that. And teaching the kids as well about what philanthropy does, and having them have the experience of actually being there to give the check away. So that's just a little aside. I'll talk a little bit more and tell you some stories maybe about that are in the book, I suppose, a few of them. And I think we got another 5 or 10 minutes, but and there will be an opportunity for questions afterwards, and I'll be up here and I'll be happy to personalize any of the books. I did sign them all. I was out at Framingham State a while back, and I got to 2 hours. There were 2 hours afterwards. People stayed around to have the book signed. So I said, well, let me just sign them all ahead of time and save. It took me more than 2 hours, but everybody got one that way. But if you want it personalized, I'd be more than happy to do that as well. My business career started very much in a very small way. After I was a kid, I had 8 real businesses before I got through college. I paid my way through Tufts University, and I paid it by selling Christmas trees. And at that time, Christmas trees sold for anywhere from $1 to $5. Tuition at Tufts at that time was $300 when I started a semester. Okay, so it was, at the same time, the Boston Globe cost 3 cents, and the newsstand price for the Boston Post was 2 cents, and ice cream cones were a nickel. So, and a double feature at the Medford Square Theater on Saturday afternoon, double feature was 12 cents. So a lot of things have changed a whole lot. So my first business I did sell, I bought it for $4,000. It was at that time it was an 80-year-old company, and I sold it for $1 million after 5, 6 years later, primarily selling fruit punch to colleges and universities, including Bridgewater State, and we had dispensers. I was down there many times personally, and altogether 138 or 39 colleges up and down the East Coast primarily. We even sent fruit punch of all places to the University of Puerto Rico. Now that doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. We took the orders, but for us to send fruit punch to a place like Puerto Rico, that was an administrative blunder. Well, they paid the bill, and it provided a good reason to go down and have have a long weekend trip to service the equipment down in Puerto Rico. I got involved in selling commercial real estate then, building commercial real estate. Was very fortunate. I've had a cardinal sin from the earliest days that I could do it, and that was not to have debt. I wanted things to be debt-free, and anybody that's gone anywhere near a business school will know that the way to buy real estate and operate it is with a lot of debt, use other people's money. If it doesn't make it, it's okay. Be like some people we read about a lot in the paper, and just so it just doesn't matter, just go bankrupt, it's okay, that's what you're supposed to do. I never felt that way. The other thing I never did, or I always did, was to personally guarantee it. That's another big no. You don't do that. If you're smart, quote unquote, whatever, however you define smart, if you're smart, you don't do that. I did. Never got hurt. Been very fortunate along the way. I've tried to work all the time, as we still do today, with an organization that has an average seniority of in excess of 10 years, and for the construction trades, that's doing pretty well. Our senior management team in the company, there's 10 people who are the senior managers, and I look at somebody like General Electric, before they moved from Connecticut, one person lost his job because of that, and then they moved to Boston, and somebody else lost his job because they didn't like the property was picked, and they got a whole new board of directors to go with it too. And obviously the chamber doesn't believe in fast turnover, and that's wonderful. But our senior board has got an average of 24 and a half years. Now, so it's the biggest reason why people like to work at Cummings Properties. I'll surprise you with this one. They like the people with whom they work. We don't hire by resume. We hire by the person that's sitting across the table. We don't give people jobs, management positions. We want them to be people who are looking for a career. And then we try our damnedest to treat everybody with respect, treat everybody with understanding, and recognize that we've all got individual talents. Some people miss, you can picture a stool with 5 legs on it. You could be missing any 2 of those legs. The other 3, you can support yourself very nicely. Try to find the things that people can do well. That's so important. And give them the opportunity to grow. I don't get actively involved in the company anymore, except that they let me sit in sometimes, and I have opinions. For the most part, I will tell you this too. If you're training people to be successors to you in small businesses or large businesses, if it's a difficult decision to make, those are the easiest ones to pass on. If I've got a firm decision in my own mind that it should be done a certain way, I most certainly will tell them. If there's some doubt about it and people haven't determined yet where to go, or somebody's nervous about it, and somebody else has got a firm opinion, and that's somebody that I respect, whoever it might be, let that person decide. That person may be the one who's going to implement the decision anyway. Isn't that person going to be a heck of a lot better doing it than somebody who disagrees with it? So let the decisions get handled and share that opportunity with people. That's really important, I think. Another thing I talk about quite a bit in the book, and how much, Chris, you want me to get off here pretty quick, don't you? Another thing I share though is the whole concept of saving. Whatever business you've got, if those of you who are hiring other people, those of you who are the people who have been hired to run the business, whatever it might be, I'm getting boxed up here a little bit, but encourage people to save. You can spend money so fast just to show off. It's so easy to put money aside, on the other hand, to stay home. Stay home and watch, if it's a Patriots game, you've got to come out of the ballpark, I know that, in this neighborhood. But anybody else, there's good TV coverage of so many of these games. And how much does it cost then? So little. But it's just saving money and putting aside. We try very, very hard in the company to buy things the right way. We've always done it like that. We've never been sued by a supplier. We've never gone to court. We had one time when a supplier just totally messed up an order of windows. The windows are supposed to be what's called thermally broken. There's a few people here who know what I'm talking about with a thermally broken window. Most people don't want their windows broken, but you do want them thermally broken, so they don't frost up on the inside. So we had a whole building full of windows that were frosty in a luxury condominium 35 years ago. So we had to deal with that, but it didn't involve, it was settled out of court, and it wasn't a question of we won't pay the bill though because there's some little trivial fault. And there are companies today in Boston and elsewhere that, beyond the ones that you read about in the paper with, that have a habit of, or a routine of stiffing contractors, stiffing their supplier contractors. There are so many situations where any business should be working hard to get the lower price, and then they should be doing everything they can to try to help the supplier be successful. And if you've got an order and maybe it allows you to get a delivery of 5 cases at a time, but you could just as well use 50, get the damn 50 at one time and save, because it's going to save the supplier some money, isn't it? And just not to look for trivial defaults, and be the customer they're happy to have call you, and that there is going to be the customer that they look forward to working with. I'm not going to say a lot more about saving money, except probably the concept of teaching your kids, your family, the younger family members and relatives from an earliest age about saving. Those of us who, I'm long past retirement age, whatever retirement age might mean for you, but the idea of retiring at 65 and getting Social Security. If you're in good health at age 65, the worst thing you can do financially is to take Social Security then, instead of waiting until you're 70. Huge difference for if your health is fragile, you might think differently about it, but if it's not, don't take it early, wait, and use the savings. Some people will say, well, I've saved that money for my retirement. I won't touch that money. I want to get the Social Security because I want to keep that money in the savings bank where it's safe. I know it's safe. Well, savings banks certainly make things safe, but that's the money you should be using, and hold the Social Security to later. So I think, Chris, we're going to have some questions, and I think I'm supposed to go have a seat now. So, folks, thanks so much for being here tonight. And it's been great. Thank you.
Bill, thank you very much. I know I speak for everyone in the audience by saying thank you for sharing your example of humility, common sense, and wisdom all in one. So we have a few questions for you, and I think we have about 10 minutes or so we'll go fast. And this is an unusual foundation from my perspective. It's community run, community members, all volunteers, as Bill mentioned at the beginning. So all of these questions are in the same handwriting as our incoming mayor. So I don't know why that is, but he and others would like to know, how do they go about interfacing with the foundation, and how does the foundation make its decisions?
Cummings Foundation has programs that distribute checks on an annual basis. There's about $20 million a year is one big program we have. At this point, it operates in Boston and North. Eventually, we have every expectation it will be down this way, and certainly into this county. We get about 750 applications or letters of inquiry, and the whole story is told out in full detail on the foundation website, which is cummingsfoundation.org. But we use the volunteers who analyze and evaluate the letters of inquiry that come in, and determine, of the 750, I think they determined that there were 380 or so that were really moving, that were really strong candidates for the grant. And we were giving away, there were 100 grants. So we reduced the 700 plus down to 380, and then those were invited to submit full applications. Cummings Foundation tries very much to keep its paperwork down for the applying organizations. And another group then evaluates the full applications when they come in. And a third group, they distributed to, after the number is reduced to 200, and then all those applications to go to further committees, and the volunteers. The volunteers come in and they evaluate them, and each committee of 4 people will distribute $500,000. And when they're looking at their 10 applications, they'll find always at least 2, sometimes 3 that they feel very positively about, and they'll immediately approve them. Then they'll go back and forth for an hour, sometimes 2 hours, and the rest to try to find the other 2. So they give it a lot of work. But all of those applications have been screened ahead of time, that my wife Joyce and I feel completely comfortable that they're being very carefully evaluated. And it's all, again, it's the volunteers, and they enjoy it so much.
I heard you interviewed on NPR, and you talked about the fact that community members know best what's happening in their communities, so why
yes.
not have them involved in a foundation? I think it's a tremendous model. I want to ask you, we have a couple of questions regarding housing production, and with your expertise, statewide, locally, we have a housing shortage, and do you have any thoughts or any wisdom to share to folks in the room about increasing and creating a housing stock, and maybe helping to create a more affordable stock, I guess, to keep people in this state?
Fred, I think that there's one particular area that I'd like to point out, and to talk about building more affordable housing and creating programs to make housing that it can be more affordable is wonderful, but not at the exclusion of building more expensive housing as well,
Right.
and even luxury housing. Luxury housing does work to spread homes apart, preserve more open space. It certainly works to provide taxes. Every community needs taxes, and as much as we might want more affordable homes, there's nothing at all wrong with building luxury homes. And if somebody is moving into a luxury home, and I'm not saying everything should be a 10,000-foot home on a 2-acre lot. That's a little wasteful. But even that, somebody's going to move from a smaller home into that home, and somebody from a much smaller home will move into the medium small home, won't they? So any home that's going to be added to the housing stock is going to be a plus. I think that's just we can overthink sometimes and slow things down so much. That alone can increase the cost of housing totally unnecessarily by just making it difficult. And that's the thing that we need to be careful about.
I want to ask you, and if you're uncomfortable, don't answer it, but billionaires have been discussed quite a bit at the national level in various debates. How do you feel about some of the conversation that's happening about the role and obligation of people at the wealthier end of the spectrum in this particular environment? We've mentioned a couple of names earlier, and those names come up. There's a few billionaires running for president, or maybe our president. But do you have any reaction to the conversation nationally?
I think that there's been certainly a whole lot of talk in Massachusetts about our current senior senator and her attitude on taxation, and I don't want to take issue with that or to certainly to carte blanche agree with where she is, but at the same time we've gone on record as being I've spoken several times and said that from our perspective there's lots of things that people of far above average wealth can do to be helpful in the economy, and that's a whole lot of what we're doing now. Everything that Cummings Properties brings in rent, and that's $150 $150 million anyway a year, a gross income. Everything that we do, 100% of it goes to Cummings Foundation. Cummings Foundation actually owns 65% of the total of 10 million square feet that we, round numbers, that we operate. So it'd be hard to say, well, we don't think people should give back. We do. It's the reason why I've had a lot to say about things like this community giving as a company project. And we don't have to call it Thanksgiving giving or giving for Giving Tuesday. Call it been a great year giving, and celebrate the fact that the staff of the company has really produced very, very well. Celebrate a separate special occasion. Somebody's retiring as president, or an owner is going off to move to Florida or something, leave something behind right then, and for something for the employees, and do it that way. And so it's celebratory giving. However you do it, or whenever people do it, you'll get a terrific return on it in the community, and you'll be seeing a lot of happy faces from not only the colleagues who get it, but the organizations that do.
I think you've described a perfect roadmap that could be used maybe at that national level. But you mentioned earlier, Bill, that you're well past the age of retirement, but we were informed that you were spotted over the summer on heavy equipment, operating it at a Cummings site. Heard you had a lot of fun and lost a little bit of weight. Do you have any tips for those of us that are approaching retirement about how to stay active and engaged in retirement?
Find something you enjoy doing and do it. But isn't that true for everything? If you can find a job that you enjoy. And I talked about people in the company wanting to be there because they like their employees, their fellow employees, their colleagues. But find something that's fun, that makes you want to get up in the morning. It's very easy to say to people, you should be an entrepreneur. If someone is talking to you that way and you don't want to be an entrepreneur, that's the last thing you should do. If you're going to run your own business, it's not a question of get out and everybody else will do what I tell them to, and I'll come in at 2 o'clock and I'll check them out and I'll let them know how they did. It's being there as a leader. And you're doing it, if you want to own and operate a business or start a business, toughest of all, if you're going to start that business, expect to be there, expect to be the one that sets the tone so people are working with you. That makes such a world of difference.
Yeah. And on that excellent note, Chris Cooney wants me to ask you one last question. What are you most proud of out of all of what you're proud of in your career? And I'm sure it may be hard to pick out one particular issue. What are you most proud of, Bill Cummings?
Well, it makes a whole big difference. But we're talking about a physical achievement. Or my biggest pride right now is my 5 grandchildren.
There you go. I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah, that's the right thing to say.
The youngest, I'm 82 still. The youngest grandchild is 3. So
wow.
Our kids didn't get a big start, but they're doing all right now. And our kids, by the way, I should tell you this, all 4 of our kids totally support the notion that they have no inheritance coming. None of them has any inheritance whatsoever other than personal things. They're just nothing more than that, though. House furnishings and things like that they want. And they're all totally supportive. And that's part of the Giving Pledge, too, by the way. The Giving Pledge looks for people to pledge that they will give at least half of their net worth either while they're living or upon their death. And it's the objective of the organization is one of trying to share ideas on how to give things away. And I've talked about these small grants at the national meeting of the Giving Pledge, and it's been and just reciprocating on all the good ideas we get from people there.
Isn't that great? So on behalf of all of us in the room, we all chipped in and got you this pen. No, but we just want to say thank you so much for sharing your time, your wisdom. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
forgot your pen. All right, we're almost done. We're almost done. I have a few announcements. First, if you participated in the raffle, your winning numbers are here, and I think they're out front as well. Please check your raffle numbers to see if you won. And before we adjourn to some networking, I want to call your attention to the giveaways on your table, which are courtesy of our friends from MBJ Wine Collection, JM Pet Resort, Plymouth 400, Concord Foods, Hutchins Flowers. Please join me in thanking them for their contributions to your tables. Thank you very much. But only one lucky person per table can take home that floral centerpiece, courtesy of Hutchins Flowers, and another lucky person will take home the bottle of Prosecco that Chris mentioned earlier, courtesy of MBJ Wines, and the Plymouth 400 hat. That lucky person, the winner, has a sticker under your plate. Check your plate. If you have a sticker, you are a winner. If you don't have a sticker, you're still a winner in our book. Everyone take your Bill Cummings book, Starting Small and Making It Big, and as mentioned, Bill will be on stage to sign or personalize any books once we adjourn. I want to thank all of you for attending, all of you for making today possible. See your program for Chamber's monthly newsletter for a list of our sponsors and upcoming programs.